Narayan Vaman Tilak was born at Karajgavon in the Poli Taluka of Ratnagiri district, Maharashtra in the year 1862. He was a chitpavan Brahmin, which had in the earlier years produced the Peshwas and in the modern times produced men as Govind Ranade, Pandit Ramabai, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and N.C. Kelkar. When Narayan was born, his father diligently studied his horoscope and came to an understanding that the boy born under evil stars was destined to forsake the ancestral faith, and so he was treated him with utter disdain and difference. Tilak had a great desire to learn Sanskrit and went to Ganesh Shastri Lile, a man greatly learned in Vedic scriptures. He would also go to the Bhajji Math at Nashik in order to receive instructions in Shastras. Here Narayan won first prize in elocution and oratory and attracted the attention and interest of Justice Ranade. Tilak's eyes then fell on English. When he asked a friend as to how he should learn English, his friend suggested that he get an English dictionary and start on. Narayan took him at his word and began to by heart thousands of English words from the letter A. When he had come halfway, he went to a headmaster of a high school wishing to learn more. "How much English do you know?" asked the headmaster. "As far as M," was the reply. The headmaster took him into his school free of charge and educated him to the 5th standard. As a child, Tilak sat under teachers who made heads dizzy with patriotism. The yearning love for his country never ever left him till his death. In the beginning, he felt that he could be the medium of change, while after his conversion, he felt that Christ and Christ only can bring redemption to India. Tilak felt that the twin bounds of idolatry and caste should be broken to restore India to her glory. When he was just 20 and while wandering in Khandesh, he met a sadhu from Bengal with the same kindred spirit. The outcome of this friendship, the conclusion that India needs a spiritual awakening, if where it has to find its glory. Gradually, the purpose shaped in him that he was to found a new religion for his motherland. It struck him that all great religious founders were men who could work miracles. This he felt could be achieved by yoga. So with this end in view, he subjected himself for the severest austerities and adversities. He preached himself in a mountain top, absorbed in meditation, nourished by the plants and fruits on the mountain tops. People began to come up the mountains for a darshan of the saint. They would implore his help for the various necessities, and even strange cures were worked by him. As this continued for a few days, he spoke to himself, "It is only for a glimpse of me or for some temporal gain they come to me. For hearing the teachings of my new religion, they have no ears. All their attention is towards me and myself. My mission can only prosper if I be lost in the teaching I give." Thus ended his endeavor, and he returned home to his wife. A great religious controversy was raging at the time of Nagpur, and Tilak, from the first no negligible opponent and now freshly equipped from his armory of Sanskrit scriptures, entered the fray, and by his refutation of the leading and most orthodox Shastris, earned for himself the title of Pandit. His fame as a poet also spread abroad during those Nagpur days, and men began to read his writings. He also began now to publish at his patron's request a monthly magazine called Rishi for the discussion of philosophic and religious questions. But a few numbers only appeared. In these days, Veer Kunya, a short story, the novel, The Three Widows, The Hermit Flower, Kavya Kusumanjali, a monthly devoted to Tilak's own poems, were all published. Lakshmi Bai writes, in her words, after some time Tilak and Appa Sahib fell out, probably over a religious question or some other matter. I think that from now on, at least in the matter of religion, Tilak's mind was disquieted. From Nagpur, Tilak shifted to Rajnandagaon. It was here that he found Christ. Tilak gives his own account of his conversion. In Tilak's words, you all know that any seeker after truth who tries to assess the worth of the Holy Bible in the strength of his own deficient judgment finds the miracles of Christ as related in the New Testament lying in his path like mountains. That seeker will have an acquaintance with the Son of Man. He is not yet worthy to understand the Son of God. The crucified he knows, but to comprehend the risen Lord is beyond him. The best way to bring conviction to such a seeker is to pray with him. Through the great golden door of prayer, he should repeatedly be brought into the presence of the Father, and in his heart should be awakened the true love of the merciful Father of this world. In this way, he will come to know the Father, and his doubts about the miracles will be removed naturally. I have always thought that God himself resolves such difficult questions for the true seeker. Around a new convert, and such am I, because it is only 11 months since I was converted, rather than lovers of the truth, gather those whose pride is in idol worship, heretics who sit conning negations, or those who understand nothing, having no desire to understand, and no ability in them beyond that of making mischief. Such a crowd as this will gather. Many of these people laughed at me for being so mad as to believe in miracles. To those who know me well, it is a mysterious riddle. For all these, I have one reply. I say to them, quote, see, I myself am a walking, speaking miracle. Look at me, unquote. At least to those who know me, here is an irrefutable miracle. Am I not a Christian? Have I not full faith in my Lord Christ? Only 2 or a quarter years ago, was I not the sworn enemy of this Christ and his followers? With this hand, now so eager in his service, how many papers have I scribbled off in the heat of my scorn for him? This tongue, which today is always ready to witness to the one great mercy of Christ, has heretofore poured what unrestrained contempt on that holy name. In former days, did anyone think or even dream that I would become a Christian? Could anyone have conceived in those days that this man, so proud of the Hindu religion, would propose to forsake it and, glorying in the Bible, abandon himself to the will of God? Nevertheless, this my pride perished, and today I stand like a small child before God, holding the hand of Christ. Is it any wonder that people should see this and be astonished? I myself am astonished at myself. What other miracle is indeed? There is no question of the truth of this wonder. Truly, brothers and sisters, herein is a miracle, that this was the mercy of God. Were it not so, no other words could explain it. I had no intention of becoming a Christian, but that good shepherd, leaving his 99 lambs, searched for me amongst the terrible mountains and brought me in. What overflowing pride and arrogance were lodged in my breast! I, who was going to found a new religion myself, have become a disciple of Jesus. Blessed be that Lord, truly all blessing be His. I remember when I was very small, sitting in my class with a geography lesson in progress, only my body was there, my mind was traveling far away. Because while the lesson was being taught, my spirit was lost in deep thoughts of what would happen to India in the future. Even in childhood, I was stirred to anger when I saw the caste distinction of my country. I was only 14 or 15 years old when once in a boys' meeting I spoke on the subject of, quote, have the Brahmins a monopoly over alms and charity, quote. I remember at the time my father, half in fun and half in anger, remarking, quote, this boy will be outcasted someday, quote. I never remember being under a teacher who was bound down by ancient customs. For the most part, I fell in with the teachers with progressive ideas. As a result, I formed the habit of regarding all subjects with an open mind. It was my firm conviction that if India was to return to prosperity, it would be by the great door of religion. Therefore, according to my ability, I gave myself up to the study of religion and philosophy. I began to study the lives of the founders of different religions. With many of them I didn't agree. However, in Gautam Buddha, I found it to my liking and thought of copying him except for his mistakes. The astonishing thing is that not even into my dreams did the Bible or Christ enter, the chief reason being the extremely simple language of the Bible. It has become the very birthmark of a Brahmin that he will only turn his mind to incomprehensible subjects or those which will exercise his utmost intelligence. If the Sanskrit books in the Hindu religion were translated into the everyday speech and put it into the hands of the Brahmins, I am convinced they would regard them as rubbish and throw them away. If someone begins to repeat an incantation of which even one letter is not understood, then are the people pleased? These same words being translated would only be ridiculed. This is one reason for not looking to the Christian religion, but there is another far greater. I never met a Christian preacher, nor did any religious book in Marathi fall into my hands that could arouse my interest. I had not even, like some other idol worshippers, read 1 or 2 pages of the Bible. I had only heard and read plenty of things against it. I used to think the only difference between Christians and idol worshippers was in their eating and drinking and customs. These then were the causes that separated me from Christ and the Christian religion. The most difficult questions of Hindu philosophy found their answer in these 3 chapters of Saint Matthew. I was most astonished to see problems like that of rebirth fully resolved, and being filled with a desire for more knowledge of Christ, I read eagerly on to the end. A Christian held the position of police superintendent in Rajanandagon. He gave me a little book and boundless of tracts. Among them I found a book written by Bushnell, The Character of Jesus. After reading it, my hunger for knowledge of the life of Christ grew. Christ has said, unquote, ask and thou shalt receive. One day, doubting this promise, I thought like any foolish, immature boy that I would put it to the test. I made my petition. May I receive here and quickly a book containing the history of Palestine and an account of the life and period of Christ. To this prayer I added, unquote, if I do not receive the fruit from my asking, then forevermore I shall hold it false that God hears and answers prayer, unquote. This was mere folly, but God had mercy on his poor child. The very next day, I was suddenly transferred from one office to another. When I got there, what should I see but under the rubbish in a box? Three beautiful books. One of them were very big, nearly as big as Webster's Big Dictionary. One was called Beautiful Stories and Jewels of Virtuous Thoughts. In these three books, I found the information I wanted. Now, one after another, God sent answers to my prayers. I was dumb with astonishment. My mind became riveted on Christ. In March 1916, Tilak wrote to his son, unquote, "One day that I started for Pune last month, as I sat in the train at Nagar station, an old man came and saluted me. He was a Brahmin who knew me intimately some 30 years ago. After some formal talk, he told me how he and many others like him felt when they heard the news of my baptism. They all thought that I was a traitor, not only to Hinduism but also to India, my own dear land. He said that this misunderstanding and intense hatred were the measure of the real and intense love and respect they feel on seeing that I am still a genuine lover of my country. But all, he said, were sorry that I should be a Christian. He himself was sorry, because he felt that, as a Hindu, I had in me both the spirit and magnetism of any great sadhu of India, which as a Christian I had lost. He reminded me of the fact that scores of people, both great and small, were attracted by me and followed me like lambs, when yet I was so young and imperfect, and asked me what became of all that great magnetic power in me. I didn't know what to say. I simply kept quiet. I could not preach anything to him, because his remarks had made me fully conscious of what I was and what I am, and had humbled me to the dust. As I looked at my present state and at Jesus, the life and light of the world, he soon left me, as if giving me a new message and creating a turning point in my life. I was at once upon my knees, buried deep in prayer, meditation, and communion with God, and thinking of the whole history of my life. I awoke as if from a trance, a new man, believing that God wills to make me a living likeness of Jesus for India. And from that moment till now, I enjoy a change and joy which words cannot adequately express. In July or early August of 1917, there came to him a vision of Christ, a vision too sacred to be described at first except to his closest friends. He was sure now that the Master was calling his disciple to follow him in the way of poverty and simplicity, to enter upon the path of Sannyas, which has ever attracted to itself the hearts of India's saints. As a sannyasi, he would be following Christ. He felt more closely than he could do in the service of a mission as a sannyasi too. He would be making an appeal to his fellow countrymen such as he could make in no other way. Unquote, India needs me. Unquote. He had written only a few months before, needs me to go about as my Lord, having nowhere to lay down his head. As my Lord, the friend of publicans and sinners, as my Lord, whose meat and drink was to do the will of his Father in heaven, as my Lord walking meekly but bravely to the cross. On January 19th, 1919, he wrote, unquote, I am experiencing a very strange spiritual phenomenon. I am ill, very ill indeed, suffering from more than one symptom, sometimes in bed, unable to move this way or that. But I pray. My prayer is such as absorbs me altogether in itself. And the result is that I am well, so well that it is very hard for anyone to believe that I was sick a short time ago. Thus it has been going on almost all through this month. Just before his death, he wrote the following letter. My dear Mrs. Lee, I'm suddenly become so very sick with a pain in my heart that I think I shall be called away any moment tonight. I'm quite ready. I leave the following wishes and messages. And my messages are: number 1, to India, follow Jesus. Number 2, to my Christian brothers and sisters, your life is in Christ. Your life is in Him and nothing else. Number 3, to missionaries, cease to be fathers and mothers. Be real brothers and sisters. Know how to appreciate, trust people, and take the place of India's revered saints. Number 4, to all, I lived as a friend and died as a friend of all, and I am still, both here and hereafter. Yours sincerely, Narayan Vaman Tilak. On April 16th, he wrote, unquote, neither doctor nor I can tell you whether I am improving, but one thing is certain, and that is blessed, doubly blessed, is all this pain. It is experiencing the cross in my body. Blessed, thrice blessed, is this sickness. It is perfect union with Christ. Unquote. With Christ and in Him, all my pain disappears. It comes again when I miss Him. The doctor and all here wonder at it. I am, with all my sickness, as it were, the pastor of the hospital. Praise God with me, unquote. On Friday, the 9th of May, 1919, his spirit passed with joy to the great festivity.